Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Content is Profit. What I've just heard from our partner, our friend, our software, lead developer of the things that we're building on the back end for you guys, it's mind blowing. And I cannot wait to share. So this is obviously a surprise drop of the podcast. And I can't wait to share this. We're just talking behind the scenes with our amazing friend, Deidre from Capshow. What's up, Deidre?
Hello.
How you doing?
Oh, so good. Every time I come onto this podcast, I'm just, I have to gear myself up for it because I'm like, I know that it's going to be so energetic and so much fun. And I'm like, yes, bring it on. Let's go.
I know, but I think this is the first time that we have you back with your amazing setup that you have there. What's up?
How cool is this, right? How cool is this background?
This is amazing. You guys are definitely doing things right. And I'm very excited because, a little context, right? We were a couple of weeks ago, we were at your event in Orlando, Capshovians Live. And what an amazing event that was. For us, obviously, we were able to share a new framework that we've been working on, and the feedback was incredible. But for you guys, it was firsthand seeing your community, your people, and whoa.
Oh my gosh, Luis, I tell you, it's no joke. It is no joke putting on a live event because, conceptually it's like, oh, how hard can this be? You'll just book a hotel and, it'll just all come together. And booking the hotel is the least of the, that's the easy part, right? Yeah. Everything else that came, it was, and every time, I look back at it now and I think about some of the conversations that, we had and I've had with other people where people are like, wait, so it was just you, Bono and Ash, so us, the three co-founders of Capshow, that put this event on? And I was like, yes. They were like, you had no help. I was like, yeah. And they're like, you guys are crazy. And I'm looking back at it now. I'm like, oh my gosh, we really were crazy. How in the world do we think that it was going to be maybe not easy, but it would be,
yeah,
not stress inducing for the three of us to put this whole live event on. So anyway, it was so much fun, and you brought the heat. I loved your presentation.
Thank you. Good. I spoke so fast. I'm like, how am I gonna get through it? And I remember I had the deadline for the presentation, and we did the 4 levers for profit, right? And on video content, and I just had to simplify it. So we went through 5 different things before I actually sent it to Bona. And I was like, okay, thank God. And so Katie, my wife, she was like, don't ever go to an event again. You were very stressed. I'm like, babe, just you wait. This is the beginning of it. But yeah, what you guys did there, it was incredible. It was so cool to see, 50 people, very engaged, all the speakers, the content itself was incredible. I could not stop taking notes, even from ourselves. And you launched an incredible offer there, and there's a new thing coming in a couple of days, starting on Monday, right? That we want to talk about this. And when you mentioned it, I was like, we have to make this available for everybody. We're going to go through it. So why don't let's start the conversation there. What are you guys doing on Monday?
Yeah. So, okay. So I am partnering with 2 other amazing people. Luis, you're amazing, and I love partnering with you, and we're going to do more together, which I'm so excited about. We were actually just nerding out about that even before we hit the record button. But I do want to talk about Josh and Joseph. So Josh Tapp and Joseph Giglietti, because so Josh Tapp is, what I really love about what he brings is he talks about relationship marketing. That's his thing. And I know that content and content marketing is it's so powerful, right? But how do we supercharge? How do we really supercharge the growth in our audience? And that's actually what Josh talks about. And not only how we supercharge it by leveraging other people's audiences, but also how do we create a really intimate way of doing, where, because sometimes, when people are just like, hey, let's do something together and share each other's, networks and audiences. And that's great. And that's totally I love doing that too. But Josh has this really great way of then bringing it right back down and going, hey, how do we actually make this an intimate experience for everyone involved? So I'm really excited for him to be sharing about that. And then Joseph, Luis, I know that you're doing some really cool things with Joseph because he is crazy. He helps entrepreneurs who create content monetize in a really specific way to the tune of 7 figures a month. It's crazy.
The second, I remember when, well, first of all, both, Josh and Joe, like incredible. And obviously you guys with the incredible software and community that you guys are building. I mean, it's a no brainer, right? But I think like in simple terms for the people that come, that are going to be joining on, is like, you guys, we talk about relationships 24/7, right? We say relationship first, content second, right? So Josh is like the master. I think his presentation on the event was like, even without a slide, he just had like a marker, right? And he was like directing this thing, and where I was like, notes, and this is incredible. And like how he was able to build like a multi-million-dollar business out of relationship and the framework that he shares and the value that he provides to these people. And I'm like, this is so good. We need more of this, right? Instead of just transactional. So one is like, how do you actually make sense of those relationships in relation to your own business? And then with Joe, when he came on, he's like, wait, we're doing this method that is making 7 figures a month. And I'm like, there's no way. And the second he started talking and sharing the
and he broke down the numbers,
doing the math and the case studies and the numbers and the examples, countless examples of the things that they've already done, I'm like, I need to hop on a call with these guys to figure out like what they're doing. And we connected, right, with Nate, the CEO. And there might be something down the line for our Content is Profit community, but we're like, this is a very smart way for people to monetize, zero risk. Right. Zero risk. Yeah. It's incredible. And I'm like, where were you guys like 3 years ago? Right. For us, I'm like, this is crazy. But so that's why like, I'm so excited to kind of bring this, because you guys are doing a little event, right? 5-day challenge, right?
Yes.
Does it take too much time for people to do this, or how's it going to work?
No, it's going to be about an hour a day. I think there's a special, like if you do upgrade to VIP, which is free, by the way. It's crazy. It's crazy. So definitely upgrade to VIP, but then it might be, 90 minutes to 2 hours a day. But it's going to be worth every second of that time. Because, I'm obviously going to be nerding out on content, which again, we were talking about before. And then, as relationship marketing and then monetization, like it is literally the end to end of what you need as an entrepreneur who creates content to really just start making money. Like 2024 is your year, right?
Yeah, this is it. I mean, we talk a lot about, how every single company or every single entrepreneur needs to control their message, right? And put it out there. And on our side, obviously, we've, honed down on like, what are these 6 things that we can do to remove the friction so we can be like very effective and stay consistent, right? Like we just talked to our friend Alex at Podmatch, and he shared some very scary stats, right? That people start, they drop either for overwhelm or even from a lot of opportunities. And it often is also lack of clarity on like the path between the content and the revenue. And that's what you guys are solving in this event. So this is super cool. You guys also share a couple of frameworks at your event, and how to be intelligently lazy, like the amazing sloth mascot.
Monty,
Monty, that you guys have there. So why don't we dive a little bit into that, right? Like, how do you guys view content like today, right? Because it has evolved quite a bit, and your tool has evolved quite a bit as well.
Oh, for sure. Like, with the advent of AI, I mean, everything kind of changes. Definitely the discussion around what content means and what our involvement as the human is in that. And, I kind of, I actually did a live on this a couple of days ago. And on that live, I actually shared a quiz, which Luis, you have to do because it's super fun. Because I started thinking about like, how do we bring the human element to creating content? And it really starts with, what is our content superpower? And the reason why I was thinking about this was because I remember when I started my first podcast, which was like 4 years ago, which is crazy to me now. And I didn't really know, quite honestly, what I was doing. I needed you then, Louise, to sure. But I was just like, okay, well, I used to listen to the likes of Serial podcasts and stuff like that. So the frame that I knew was like, okay, I'm just going to hop on the mic and I'm just going to talk about things that I know and that I'm doing. And that was my first podcast, was really like me talking or having Bonner on, and we were co-hosting some of the episodes.
Yeah.
And to me, when any of us do that, that is because you're by and large, you're the expert, right? Yeah. You're there sharing your stories, your journey, your learnings, your frameworks. So that's one superpower that as a human, we can lean into. Like,
yeah,
and AI can't do that for us, right? Like we bring that expertise. Another superpower was, I actually realized this because with my second podcast, Grow My Podcast Show, I started to be really, I kind of wanted to put aside me as the expert because I didn't feel, if I'm going to be honest, like super, what's the word? Like qualified.
Qualified.
To be the expert in the things that I want to talk about. And I actually wanted to bring more perspectives to the conversation. And so I started being really, really intentional with who I was bringing on. Kind of like what I did with Capshovians Live, with bringing on really amazing speakers like you and curating the whole experience. And so that is a superpower in and of itself, is like the curator. And that's what I really leaned into, as again, that's only a human can do that, right? Like where you curate a particular experience that you want your audience to feel.
Absolutely.
And then the third, which I wish I had this superpower, but I just do not. I'm working on it, but it's going to come. Is we call it the investigator, and this is someone who puts so much effort into like doing the prep, the research up front to really get to know their guest and all the different perspectives and conversations that their guest has had, and been like, and then go, okay, well, what's something that they haven't? What is something that I can draw out, given my superpower of being the investigator, to make this a really different experience for the guest and the audience. Yeah. So those are the three core superpowers that we've identified as, if you're an entrepreneur and you're creating content. And then obviously there are people who have a mix of those. So, they have their own cool name stuff, but really it comes down to those three core superpowers. And that's what I've been nerding out on, around like
so cool,
leaning into, who we are as a human in this AI world.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, was it last year that it was like the boom of AI? Everybody's like, AI hit this and the AI that, and obviously, that's gone down quite a bit, but it doesn't matter if the human element is not present, right? There still have to be a human element, and we got to learn, how do we create? Like, what's easy for us to create in many ways.
Yeah.
And just offline, we were sharing that example of like, we have this new client in the studio that she came in. She has incredible experience, 30 plus years in the industry, right? She's run massive campaigns for big companies, millions of dollars, right? And she came in prepared with like 52, episodes, like once a week. She was ready to rock and roll. She's like, money's no object. Let's do this, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is there a dream client? And it was really an incredible like onboarding experience. But then the second that we turned the camera on, there was like this thing that, second thoughts, imposter syndrome. I don't know how to say, I don't know how to communicate. I'm like, we have to stop the recording and be like, you just share all these stories with us that got us super excited about your topic and what you do and your knowledge and all this. But somehow when we see that red little button in there, we stop, right? And that's happened to all of us, right? I'm sure, like, it happened to me many times, still does sometimes, right? Depending on like what type of content we're creating. Like, right now in my personal journey, we want to dive into YouTube specific content, and that's why we're battling, right? Like, podcasting right now, or these conversations might come as a second nature, but it's because we've done more than 500 of them. We put in the reps, right? Now on YouTube content, it's like, how do we structure? How do we do this? How do we say? How do we look, right? Because it's highly visual, right? Like, do we have the right equipment? Like, we're going through all these things just like everybody else, and we have to remind ourselves how to remove the friction. So that's why we see it every day. I'm sure you see it in your community. You guys have an incredible tool to compress the time and increase the quality of the output of what we're putting in, which is an incredible tool. Capsho, by the way, the link right below in the description if you want to go check them out. And also why I'm so excited about the event that you guys are launching on Monday, because it will compress years of trying and error. And
literally, like, I would say decades.
Decades. And I'm so excited that this is a solution that you guys are putting out there. So what's the result that people are gonna get? Like if they're like, okay, I'm here, you know, I the quiz, I know who creator I am, I'm already creating, right? And
Yes.
you know, I might need this new framework to go ahead and monetize. Zero risk, by the way, which when I saw, I was like, there's no way, there's always a risk. I promise you.
Nah.
There's no risk.
It's
I was
so
mind
good.
blown. It's so good.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I don't want to okay, I'm going to talk about I'm going to share a little bit about what Joseph spoke about at Capture Wins Live. When we spoke about the maths, I say maths, it's an Aussie, but it's like math is what
the math.
The
you
math.
do maths like in plural?
Yeah.
We're doing many maths. That's awesome.
Yeah, many maths. Yes, we're doing many maths. Okay, so I'm going to share a bit of the math. Well, I'm like the really like truncated version of it.
Yes.
Is basically like when you and I'm stealing some of these words from Joseph, but his phrasing is really like attention is the new currency. And that's all we're doing here. Like what you're doing, Luis, with your community, what we're doing is we're actually enabling people to get that attention, right? And then that's kind of like in a way where our jobs stop. I don't want to speak too much for you, but I know like for us, you know, we're very much about, hey, create content, market that content in an intelligently lazy way because you want that attention, you want that visibility, you want to be discovered. And then what Joseph then, he kind of like leans into that and he's like, hey, okay, well, you've got the attention. Like we help you with that at Capshow, like the Biz Bros help you with that. And we partner on that as well to get that attention. That attention is a new currency because the more attention that you have, there's actually a really, really cool way that you can monetize that attention.
Yeah.
And by the way, you can monetize and you don't even need to have an offer right now. If like for a lot of people, they do. They have offers, which is great, amazing. Okay, that's a no-brainer way to like get people into those offers. Yeah. But even if you don't have an offer yourself, there is actually a way that you can monetize, like make a lot of money without having your own offer, just by monetizing the attention that you've created. So I don't want to give away too much, but that's kind of
this
and
perfect.
It goes into the mass of like what that means by attention. Anyway, like it's really cool.
I highly encourage, right? Like everybody here, maybe you've had an experience going through a challenge. Maybe you've had an experience going through a course, right? Maybe you gained something from it. Maybe, you know, it was a negative experience. We've had many of those. I think I remember my first investment, something like that was like $1,000. And then when we go through it, we're like, we've already consumed all of this, right? And it was not the positive experience. But then we decided to invest, $25,000 into our first like big program, and that changed everything, right? So we're the cool thing here is that it's not going to cost you $25,000. And we saw it at the event and we're like, there's no way, to the point, right, that we're in conversations to make him an official partner, right? Like DJ and Capshow already are officially one of the things that we recommend to our creators. But at the same time, this is so good and it solves so many problems that, like I said at the beginning of the conversation, I'm like, where were you guys like 3 years ago? We were trying to figure out, we didn't have an offer, right? So I highly encourage you. It's completely free. Go in an hour a day, commit to the time, right? You obviously are going to be paying for you with your time and consuming this content, but I promise you, it's going to be so good. We're going to be there. We're going to be consuming it just like with you guys. So we're going to be in the chat engaging as well. We're going to be learning a ton because we have some Disney vacations that we have to pay for in December. Then. So, it has to happen.
Yes.
Well, Deidre, this has been so cool. Is there anything else that you want to add, before we head out?
Oh my gosh. I mean, always, but no, I'm mindful of time and I want to be respectful. No, it's just, come to the event. Dare I say, it is going to change how you look at your business and how you make money.
100%. Awesome. Well, thank you, Deidre, again. And with that said, guys, thank you so much for tuning to the Contents Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite podcasting platform and on social media at BizBrosGo. Go ahead, click the link below to go sign up for this amazing opportunity. And we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye, guys.